Hello y'all, this is Rivers of Blood, a mod for Hearthstone 4 with a timeline far different from our own. The first divergence was in 1794 when the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was able to secure its independence from the Russians up until 1823. This led to a weaker Russian Empire. We moved forward to World War I, which was far more brutal and lasted until 1920. Now, in 1934, Spartacists control Germany, but the monarchy survives in East Prussia. Russia is stuck in a warlord era. Meanwhile, both France and the UK may soon enter into their very own civil wars. We are going to play as the Kingdom of East Germany, which is led by the regime of the Kaiser. The Prussian kingdom once unified all of Germany, but at the moment it is confined to its ancestral homelands in Königsberg. This country is also currently the home of many who were against the communist cause. We begin with 5 national spirits, and they are minority troubles, weak king, Prussian army, Prussian high command, and the very devastating Great Economic Depression. Looking at the military, in the army we have 17 divisions, 14 are infantry, 2 are motorized, and 1 is light tank. In the navy we got 2 fleets, and the pride of the fleet is the cruiser Admiral Scheer. And last but not least, in the air force we got 2 air wings. One has fighters and the other one has tactical bombers. Inspecting the army commanders, I can say that we have 4 generals and 3 field marshals. As for the navy, there's 2 admirals, which is more than enough for us. Looking at the military technology, we have up-to-date weapons, motorized, 1934 era light tanks, basic artillery, and in the aircraft department, basic fighters and basic bombers. The Kingdom of East Germany has a pretty large focus tree, but we got to start somewhere. So let's do the Prussian economy, industrialization, Prussian socialism, reform the banking sector, and our agricultural roots. The state of the kingdom. This country was founded a few years ago, just after the decisive defeat in the German Civil War. The war at first was a stalemate, then it became a disaster. Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicated, and so the throne went naturally to his son Wilhelm III, who is officially ignoring the state of war with the Spartacists, as his main issue is having to deal with the non-Germanic minorities demanding more rights. He must also address the rising popularity of other ideologies, such as ultra-nationalism. The former Kaiser, Wilhelm II, is having his birthday soon. Many suggest he should celebrate his birthday with the Prussian people. A few object to this, stating there is a possible risk of assassination. Don't worry about it, he'll be fine. Just an hour after the start of festivities, shots ring out. The day had begun with Wilhelm III making a speech, and then later him and his father decided to end the ceremony by visiting the people. While they were doing so, the Kaiser was fired upon. Nearby soldiers ran after the attackers, but they were unable to catch them. Wilhelm III dies a few minutes after his initial injury, while Wilhelm II would fight later into the night, but eventually he too would succumb to his wounds. With the death of the monarch, the Prussian Reichstag must do something. Many liberal elements call for a democratic system with free elections, while former soldiers and nobles advocate for a system based upon the ideals of Prussian militarism. We have a couple choices here. Let's have the democratic faction achieve victory. Pelicanism, which are the followers of an ideology possibly unique to this mod, I'm not sure, clash. Lithuanians fight Germans, and then some Polish incidentally visiting the area show up and take on everyone else. After this little skirmish, there are whispers of a union on both sides, as some believe they need to deal with bigger things. Let's choose to have the Pelicanism meet. In another part of Europe, a 3-way civil war starts in Austria. The combatants are the German People's State, the Austrian Republic, and the People's Republic of Austria. Above the Caucasus region, the Army of the North Caspian, the Army of Crimea, and the Army of the Caucasus all declare war on one another. It's interesting to note that all 3 of these countries are the same, ideology-wise. The Prussian elections, we have 3 parties here. We're going to have the first one on the list win. That particular party is the SPD, and they are Social Democrats. The people who killed the Kaiser are called. It turns out they were a small group of National Bolsheviks. Upon coming into contact with the authorities, a shootout started. None of the assassins survived the encounter, and it is fair to say Wilhelm III has been avenged in some way. The leaders of the East German Pelagist meet, namely Rosenberg, Hesse, and Faidunus, who each lead their own groups. This gathering results in an agreement guaranteeing the cooperation of each movement to deal with what they consider a threat against Pelicanism. I suppose them having unity is better than having more fighting in the streets. With their forces becoming one army, a temporary alliance of Lithuanian and German Pelagists march on the capital. The coup was bloodless, as police and soldiers sent to face them either ran away or defected to their side. The Reichstag even gave them power, but that didn't stop Prussia's new rulers from executing a few politicians and nobles that were thought to be against the new regime. The country flag and name has changed, and Rosenberg is the new leader of the country for now. Also, we can finally see what pelicanism is defined as. Apparently, the branch East Germany has is pagan pelicanism, which is quite radical and violent. The ideology merges together ideals such as totalitarianism and a national cynical state with forms of spirituality. According to the text here, pagan pelagists are quite a force in post-World War I politics due to many Europeans looking for alternatives to the status quo. Since the coup has succeeded, the next question is what Pelagist faction should be in charge of the country. To decide this, the leaders of each group have been gathered for a private debate in order to see who will be the person in charge of Prussia. The question of the Lithuanian minority. We want Vaidunus to win, and so we will go with his answer to the issue, which boils down to saying the Lithuanians were here first, and thus Prussia needs to reconnect to its Baltic heritage. While we're busy doing what we're doing, our neighbors, the Republic of Lithuania and the United Baltic Duchy, are having a border conflict. The question of the Polish minority. For this one, we're just going to go with whatever stance Vaidunus is an advocate for. In the focus tree, unless something changes, we're going to complete controlling the inflation and start the land reform. The government. Should we have a single leader or a council? Hesse and Vaidunus want the former, and Rosenberg wants the latter. The person we want to win this great debate for is in the single strong leader camp, so we'll go with that choice. The power struggle is over. The pro-Lithuanian faction has won. A massive ceremony is set to take place for this special occasion. We have got ourselves a new country name, leader, and flag. If you're wondering what the name means, well, when translated from Lithuanian, it means East Prussia. Vaidunus, born as Wilhelm Storost, is historically known as a Prussian-Lithuanian philosopher, humanist, poet, teacher, and Lithuanian writer. He is considered a pioneer of the Romuva faith, which is a neo-pagan movement that attempts to reconstruct the religious practices of Lithuania prior to their Christianization. He was also a leader of the Theosophical movement in a place which he lived. To add to this, he never saw the revival of the pagan religion as either his personal goal or a goal of Lithuanians. Later biographers would compare him to the national leaders of India of the time, such as Gandhi. With the new person in power, we have unlocked another part of the focus tree, and in it we will do the focuses: Vaidunus rules, corporatism, class collaboration, Baltic Kshatriyas, and Lithuanian Brahmins. We got ourselves some special decisions that will give us war goals and whatnot, but we gotta wait until 1936 to use them. Why bother waiting to do that when you could just manually justify a war goal now, which is what we are going to do with the Republic of Lithuania. Over in Britannia, a civil war has broken out, and the participants are the British National Government, the British Workers' Front, and last but not least, the British Liberal Union. There is even more strife in the world, as in the Balkans, the Kingdom of Greater Serbia has started fighting the Bosnian Revolutionary government. The situation gets even more difficult for the Serbians because now the independent state of Croatia has popped up. In the Iberian Peninsula, the national Spanish state declares war on the Kingdom of Portugal. There's never enough fighting, isn't there? In Africa, the Congolese Republic starts clashing with the Kingdom of Belgium. Man, the Balkans just keep getting more chaotic, don't they? Because now the increasingly beleaguered Kingdom of Greater Serbia must fight the Kingdom of Montenegro. More news from around the world. Greece declares war on the Ottoman Empire. The Indian coalition declares war on British India, and besides the Greeks, the Ottomans also had to deal with the Republic of Turkey. The Ottoman Empire just sort of died. Meanwhile, the Spanish and the Portuguese sign a white peace. Something possibly relevant nearby us has begun. That's right, it's a second German civil war, and the two parties involved are the Spartacists and the Southern German National Government, led by Heinrich Himmler, of all people. The United Baltic Duchy has exploded, and in the aftermath of that, there's now a big civil war in its place that includes the Latgalian People's Republic, the remnants of the EBD, the Estonian Communist Assembly, the Estonian Liberation Army, the Estonian Liberal Pact, the Latvian National Council, and another Latvian country I can't remember the name of. More wars, this time in Eastern Europe. The Ukrainian state is fighting the Free Territory, and somewhere in Russia, Novosibirsk attacks Bratsk and Barnaul. And on another note, we finished the Lithuanian Brahmins focus. In the you-know-what-it's-called tree, we're going to do all the stuff that will eventually lead to us getting rid of the economic depression national spirit, because it is just brutal. In the Dark Knight, a ceremony takes place. Vaidunus has a speech, and he says something about Aryan spirituality and how it is returning to the country. On top of this, the Pelican's Council has been disbanded, and the Council of Brahmins, which refers to the name of the old Baltic priest, has been put in its place. This council is to be the main governing body of the nation. There is a new development in Ukraine. The Ukrainian People's Republic has made an appearance, and they are attacking the Free Territory, who is now stuck fighting on two fronts. Far away from us, the Legion State and their puppet avant-garde Russia are at war with Karel's regiment, and to the south of them, Alash Orda faces the Kazakh Republic, while at the same time the Orda are in a border skirmish with the Kyrgyz state. Our invasion of the Republic of Lithuania has started. We have a bigger army, I believe, plus we have tanks, so it shouldn't be too hard to defeat them. It took us about a month to win, but we got there, and as a result, we expanded the size of East Prussia. We want to continue growing our domain, so let's justify a war goal on the Kingdom of Belarus. In the west, Spartakusbund, Soviet Germany, who won the Second German Civil War, has decided to invade the Kingdom of Denmark. Well, that's a big deal. The Third French Republic, also known as France, has made a decision to attack their German neighbor, who is busy at the moment fighting the Danes. When Lithuania surrendered, they gave us a good amount of their weapons, and that's great because currently we are struggling to make anything on our own. This captured equipment will be put to good use in our new, soon-to-be-deployed divisions. The Belarus we will fight soon is battling another country that calls itself Belarus, except they're socialist or Marxist or whatever. I just hope the place we are going to invade doesn't lose, because that would partially ruin our potential territorial growth. Above the Caucasus region, the Army of the North Caspian, now referred to as the South Russian State, came out on top against the two other armies in the area. Not satisfied with just that, they have decided to go after many of their southern neighbors, such as Georgia and Chechnya. More wars. This time it is the Southern Russian Socialist Republic versus the Russian Soviet Republic. The latter of the two also just so happens to be in a conflict with the nearby North Russian military junta. We're making our move on the Kingdom of Belarus, who is the leader of the Belarusian National Government faction, which includes them and the Belarusian Republic. I do hope they call the Republic in to help them, but there's a good chance that won't happen. We're at the enemy capital, and the kingdom did lose a state to their eastern neighbor, which is sad, because that would have been one extra piece of land for us. Here is some news from around the globe. The Spanish state is taking on the Republic of Navarre, and somewhere in Russia, Barnaul is clashing with the Jewish Republic. It's early 1936, and that means we can use our Baltic ambition decisions, which include stuff like free Lithuania proper and free Latvian lands. Basically, we use 25 political power for each one, and in return, we get some cores. Looking down to the south, past Poland and Ukraine, there is some fighting going on between the Romanian Republican Coalition, the Hungarian Revolt, and Iron Guard Romania. The French-German war drags on, and it seems both sides have become stuck in a stalemate if the borders are anything to go by. Alright, in the focus tree, let's complete deal with the Hess faction, expel reactionaries, invite Lithuanian immigrants, support Latvian partisans, and then go over to the left and do repeal anti-Lithuanian laws, Lithuanians in government, mandatory Lithuanian in school, and Aryan ties. The territories of the old United Baltic Duchy are still split up. We're going to change that by invading the Latvian National Council and then the Latvian Democratic Front. As for the Estonian communist assembly, we'll think of something. With all the prerequisites out of the way, we are going to use the Proclaim Baltic Unity decision. East Prussia has become the united Baltic state, and thanks to this transformation, we now have access to more things, such as easy ways to get war goals on the Belarusian Republic and the Second Polish Republic. We have finally fixed the issues with our economy, and not a moment too soon, because we need all the civilian factories we can get in order to trade for resources that are ultimately used to fuel our war machine. A good distance away from us in Siberia/Mongolia, the Mongolian Khanate is battling the Far Eastern Republic. We have activated the operation that gives us a war goal on the Belarusian Republic, and of course we went ahead and used it. Also, on another note, we have a very real and totally not fake communist puppet. In the focus tree, let's finish up Vidunas's political path by doing the focuses: the Romuva faith, perennial policy, Baltic stormtroopers, solidify our control, and last but certainly not least, the Baltic warrior poet king. Looking over to Asia, the last time we saw something about India, they were having a war, but now the whole subcontinent has independent countries everywhere. I'm not exactly sure what took place, but obviously, something big happened. We're getting ready for a war with Poland, who has tons of manpower in their reserves, a lot of civilian factories, and I assume they also have a military that you couldn't call small. The Polish are justifying on the Czech Republic. If they're doing that, we might as well wait for that conflict to begin, so at the very least, we'll have a distracted enemy. The Polish attacked the Czechs as soon as they were able to do so, and thus the moment has come for us to launch our very own offensive. The Second Polish Republic became friends with Iron Guard Romania somehow and called them in to help with the war. If we are fast enough in our advance, we should be able to take a lot of ground before any Romanians arrive to the front. With the new developments, there is good and bad news. The bad news is that we are fighting the two Międzymorze nations at once, but as for the good news, we just need to beat Poland in order to force the rest of the faction to surrender. We are doing well in the conflict, but we have a special little side objective, so to speak, for one of our divisions, and that objective is to go to the Romanian border and take a piece of land, or at the very least, fight for it, just so we can say we did it. The people of the Baltic have triumphed. What we're going to do now is try to get as much territory as possible in the peace conference. That is done, and just look at Romania. What is the Czech Republic doing? Is wanting prettier borders a valid reason for war? It has to be one, surely. We gave ourselves an excuse to attack yet another country, but in the meantime, let's justify a war goal on Spartacus the Bund, Soviet Germany, who is still fighting France. Our push into Central Europe has not gone unrewarded, as we have got ourselves a new puppet in the form of the Czech Union State. Our army has begun its offensive into Germany, and overall the incursion has gone well for us thus far. I wonder how the Teutonic Order would react, knowing there is a united group of pagan Baltic peoples making their way into German lands. Berlin and many other important cities have been captured by us. The only big locations we have left to seize are Frankfurt and Munich, and it shouldn't be too long before our army reaches those places. There you have it. The United Baltic State has annexed all of Denmark, as well as the vast majority of Germany. We're going to pay Romania a little visit with our entire military, because why not? I'm not sure how or why, but Spain has somehow devoured all of France. This is Europe now. There is a united Baltic state, which needless to say includes more than just the Baltics, and there is a Spain that also doubles as France. What a world this must be. What a trip. We went from being the kingdom of East Germany to East Prussia, and to finally the big old united Baltic state, which, if I counted correctly, annexed more than 7 countries. The video is going to come to an end here. If you enjoyed the mod, check it out in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Have an awesome day. I'll see y'all later. Bye.